Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Hi.
So, like I said, I don't know much about you. Ashley, who is a good friend of the show, kind of introduced me to your page. What is your sober date?
February 11th, 2005.
Wow. Okay, so you've been around. You've been in recovery for a while now. Then
A minute.
February 11th, 2005. So my second favorite question to ask is, what was happening February 10th of 2005?
I was in medical school and I was in my third year rotations. I was in a family practice office, and my use had deteriorated my life to the point where, like, I was showing up at these doctors' offices and like trying to pretend that I knew what was going on, and I was just dope sick all the time. And so ultimately I reached the point of like, enough is enough. I can't keep doing this. And there happened to be a psychologist that worked in the family practice office where I was rotating, which is a very strange setup, and I've never worked in a family practice office since that had that. But God. And so she, I pretended I was having a panic attack, and they brought me in to see her, and I basically just broke down. I showed her my arms, my track marks. I was like, I don't know what else to do. So she started the ball rolling and got me into rehab.
Okay, that's awesome that you were able to get help right away like that. Um, so I bounce around a lot, just to let you know. So just where are you from originally?
Jersey.
Me too.
Ah, north.
I'm from. I'm South.
Oh, see, we're like East Coast, West Coast.
I know. I know. People don't understand that unless you grew up there.
That's
I grew
right.
up. I grew up right outside of Camden,
I grew up right outside New York City, Bergen County.
Bergen County. Yeah, I was going to guess that. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So we had two different experiences then when it comes to Jersey, but Jersey nonetheless.
Yep.
Are you still in Jersey?
No, my family is in Jersey, but I moved to Pennsylvania when I was in high school with my mom, and I went to college and medical school in Pennsylvania. I did a residency in New York State, and then now I'm in Ohio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I live in Pennsylvania now,
Oh, where?
and my family is still in Jersey, and I live in Bloomsburg,
Okay.
right outside of we're not outside of anything, but it's like 45 minutes southwest of like Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah, I had friends that went to Bloomsburg, and I lived in Tunkhannock, which
Oh shit,
is,
not
yeah,
far at all. Yeah.
that's where I went to high school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I work for Geisinger Hospital, and
That's where I did my fellowship in addiction medicine
really.
at Marworth through Geisinger. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that's who I work for. Like literally where I'm sitting right now, I work from home and I do scheduling for like orthopedics and podiatry and wound care and orthotics. But I have patients I talk to all day long that are from Tunkhannock. So I'm very familiar. That's funny then. I lived in Massachusetts also and North Carolina, and Los Angeles is where I got clean at originally, and all over the place. Yeah. I kept moving away from my disease, not thinking
Sure.
it was going to follow me.
The
You know what I
geographic
mean?
here. Mhm.
Yeah, geographically, and it kept coming with me. Who would have thought? I moved 35 times since I was 18. I'm 39. Five different states. Yeah, it's been crazy. But I'm settled now, though. I've been in Bloomsburg since 2019. Um, so okay, you're from North Jersey and you spent most of your life growing up there.
Well, 14 till 14. And
14,
then,
and then you went to Pennsylvania.
yep.
Okay. And do you have any brothers or sisters growing up?
No, I have step siblings, but no
Okay.
biological siblings, and nobody that lived with me,
Okay, so you grew up an only child, basically.
pretty much.
Single mom?
No, I'm married.
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
my
I meant
mom? No,
like,
no, no. She's no, no. My mom was remarried by the time I was like 5. My dad was remarried before I was 2. So
okay,
no, I had step parents on both sides.
okay. And were you close to any of your step siblings?
Yeah, I was pretty close to all of them, I would say, to some degree. But I never lived with any of them.
Okay.
So
Did you bounce back and forth like on the weekends?
yeah, I lived with my mom and stepdad full time, and then I went to my dad's on the weekends.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a sense of what growing up was like. And were you
Normal,
like
totally fucking normal. I have come from
normal?
two very big Italian, not big in size, but big in loudness,
Yeah.
Italian families.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm familiar with Jersey Italians. Don't worry.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, you weren't around addiction then growing up then.
No,
Like,
nope.
did
Mm-mm.
you find yourself into any kind of like, I know the addictions, like, whether it was sugar or TV or anything like that growing up, like looking
No,
back?
no. My addictive traits growing up were the things like I was overly sensitive, like skin inside out, did not like anybody to feel bad about anything. Like conflict was awful. So I would like do whatever I had to keep the peace and make sure everybody was happy and like nobody, like I would every Saturday morning take out all my toys to play with while I watched cartoons because I didn't want any of them to feel bad. Like I attributed feelings to everything and everyone,
Mhm.
and they were big feelings and it was a lot. And so, that between that and then learning really young that like if I lied, if I was dishonest, I got things. Like I controlled things. So if I was in school and I said I was not feeling well and pretended to throw up, I got extra attention from the teacher, or I got to go home, or and then if I was lying or manipulating in some way to to dissolve tension or stop the conflict, I felt like I had more power and control. So those were the traits that I had of addiction early on, but
Yeah.
not substance. No,
So you were good at manipulating at an early age.
very.
Yeah. Okay. And what was your introduction? Was it drugs first or alcohol first? Like smoking weed, or was it alcohol or
It was alcohol. I think I was 12 and I think 11 or 12. And I was at I mean, aside from like, you're at a party with your parents and you can I have a sip of your beer kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
Besides that, I was actually at a party with my parents. It was like an eighth grade graduation party for somebody we knew. And all of us kids got together and stole a six pack and like shared it. And then they were done and I was not. And I just kept going back for more and more and more
yeah,
until I was absolutely annihilated that first time.
yeah. So you were like, yeah, 11, 12. That's when I started, was 11 with Captain Morgan. And it was once I figured that out, once I learned how to drink, that's all I wanted. So you're 11, 12. How soon after that first experience did you want to drink again? Like, did you wait until you drank again? I know you drank a lot that day, but like, did it end in vomiting? And
I don't think I vomited, but I was very drunk and
yeah,
there was some trauma that happened that night. And I ultimately, I think I did wind up continuing to drink. So like my mother and stepfather were not drinkers, but they always had some beer in the fridge for like if people came over or like
yeah,
from a barbecue 6 months ago.
yeah,
And I apparently, and I don't really remember this, it was like a retrospective. My mother was like, do you remember? I would steal those beers after that event. I started stealing them and I would drink one or two a night maybe and then throw the can under my bed. And that's how they found out. They found all the cans under my bed.
yeah,
Um, so after that, shortly after that, we moved and then I was started smoking cigarettes too.
yeah. I was
Um,
13. I started smoking cigarettes.
yeah, this was right around the same time I started smoking
Oh,
cigarettes.
okay. Now,
So then
do you mind touching on the trauma, or no? You're not. You want to talk about it?
well, I mean, it was just your standard sexual abuse that happened because I was drunk.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, not that there's anything standard about sexual
Yeah.
abuse, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Did it sit with you for a while?
Yeah. So, subconsciously, it stayed with me. And I think it was probably the launching pad for a lot of the things that came after. But I was so used to creating an image of myself and manipulating what people saw and thought and keeping like everything calm, that like I was very convinced that I was fine, that it was fine, that shit happens. I don't understand why people that have this happen to them make such a big fucking deal about it. Like, you just accept it and move on.
How old were you? I mean, not how old. When were you? How old are you now?
46.
46. So this was in the mid 80s, mid to late 80s,
It would have been the early 90s.
early 90s. Okay. And that's when people were more thinking that way, you know, when it comes to that something like that happening.
Pick yourself up by your bootstraps, just
Yeah.
kind of like brush it off, keep it moving, you know. And I liked being that, like, I liked that people viewed me as this kind of strong, you know, independent, emotionally secure kid. You know,
Yeah.
I liked that image that I had created.
Yeah.
So I just tucked all the trauma deep inside and just, everything's fine. I'm fine. We're fine. Right.
Yeah. And the cigarettes, how did you get introduced to them?
My mother and stepfather both smoked.
Okay, so you're able to steal their cigarettes and start that way.
Yes. Yes. It was probably inevitable.
Yeah. Did you do that while under the influence of alcohol for the first time?
No, because I
you
was
did
at
that
a party with a bunch of people that I couldn't smoke in front of.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wait, if this was like in the early 90s and it was like your stepdad and your mom's cigarettes, what kind were they?
Marlboro Reds and Cool King 100s.
Italian moms and those cools, man. There's so many Italian moms that smoke cools. That's funny. My best friend's mom, she's been smoking cools for as long as I can remember. All right. So yeah, it was easy for you to just start then. It was inevitable, like you said. And you were starting to say like something, and I interrupted to ask you about the trauma. It was after you started drinking more, like you were stealing more. What ended up happening?
Shortly after that, we wound up moving to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And we moved from North Jersey to literally Tunkhannock, the fucking bumfuck.
I was going to say, what was that culture shock like from being New York City right here to like Scranton? You know, like
kids driving their tractors to school, like Tunkhannock. So yeah, it was a big culture shock. And I was pretty mad about it, you know, because I think I had like a boyfriend at the time in New Jersey, and like my dad was still there, my grandma, my aunt, like all my family. So it's my mom and stepdad just like uprooted us and moved us out to nowhere. Was
it a job change or something, or just wanted to change?
I think that it was like financially driven. I think they were struggling financially, and they were able to buy a house in Pennsylvania, where in New Jersey, they never would have been able to do that. So I think they were just trying to like build their future or whatever.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So we moved out to Tunkhannock.
So you're pissed off. You get out here. Your whole life's back there. This is the 90s. You can't really just hop on, you know, a computer or your phone and, you know, FaceTime with friends, you know. How long, you know, you're kind of an outgoing person. So how long did it take you to like settle in with like a new group of friends like for high school?
It wasn't that hard because again, I'm super good at chameleoning, you know, like I can just be whatever I think you want me to be, and I can be the best version of it. Like I'll do you better than you, you know? So that was kind of that was fine. I made friends pretty quickly and settled in pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's how I was. I changed schools on purpose. Like my mom wanted me to try out a Catholic school that she went to. And I had known public school my whole life. And I was just like, all right, I'll try it for like my freshman year. And I ended up hating it and going back to public school after 1 year. But at least I could say I tried it for her. But I made friends right away and it didn't bother me, you know, in parties, you know. The only thing I can think of that impacted me my freshman year was my first day ever of high school was 9/11. That was my first day of high school. So being in Jersey, and when 9/11 happening, that was, you know, you were probably in Pennsylvania when that happened.
I was in medical school.
Medical school? Where was your medical school at?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Erie? Oh, wow. So you went all the way, you know, the top corner, might as well be in Canada.
I went to Penn State for undergraduate and then Erie for medical school. So I just like progressively moved
Went
across
west.
the state. Yeah.
Yeah, you went this way, or that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, and Penn State, that's a fun party school.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Drank my body weight in alcohol there for sure.
yeah, I can imagine. And we'll get to there. So, did you continue drinking like with friends in high school and going to parties?
Yeah. So my high school experience was interesting
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I, um, I did like my freshman year, a couple times I drank with friends and like I had zero control. Like once the alcohol touched my lips, I was Frank the Tank. Like
yeah,
I could not stop. So, but my stepfather was insanely, I'm gonna say borderline sociopathically strict. Because he had been a fucking tool when he was a kid. So he just assumed everything that I was doing was going to be bad and like never gave me a benefit of the doubt, never trusted me, like was really strict. So the few times that I drank, like in early high school out there, it was like at a friend's house and it was a disaster, because I'm like just annihilated and they weren't, they were like, oh, let's drink for fun. I'm like, okay. Um, so I realized that I needed to stop drinking because I was going to get in trouble. Like I was going to show up at home or something, get caught somehow. So it just seemed easier. I started telling people that I developed an allergy to alcohol. The irony.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. I'm not sure which rooms you go to, but yes, the
uh-huh.
irony.
So yeah, I said I have this allergy to alcohol, so I don't drink. So of course somebody was like, "Oh, well, you can smoke weed."
Yeah,
So that became sort of the drug that I was mostly using for like my sophomore and junior year. And then in junior year, and like all along, like my plan was to be a doctor. I'm going to be in medical school, so I had to maintain really good grades. I had to do like extracurricular shit. Like I
yeah,
was academically great and I loved being that bipolar personality where like I'm in all the AP and gifted and advanced classes, but most of my friends are the fucking stoners, loser. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah,
I liked that.
yeah.
Um and so I made it through my junior-ish year. I started dating a guy who had graduated and he was like really into um like Fish and the Grateful Dead. And so being the chameleon that I am, I also was really into Fish and the Grateful Dead. And so began my career in
Psychedelics.
hallucinogens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where that was.
Yeah.
I knew where we
Yeah.
were going with that one, Nicole.
And there's plenty of like at the show, like, and we did a whole summer where like just all over with Fish, like touring around and all the shakedowns. Like, we did lots of opium and hash and, um, pills were just sort of coming onto the scene a little bit. So you could get
Late
some
90s, like,
pills.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, so I was doing tons of that. And then I was like, oh, maybe my allergy's gone. So I started drinking again, probably my senior year. And yeah, I was working almost full time. I was working like 30 some hours a week at a job outside of school and maintaining my grades and applying to college. And, yeah, and just doing like a shit ton of any drug that wasn't detectable on me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Except
yeah.
for you smoking weed still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But oh, you mean detectable not on a drug test, as in like from your parents.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you
Yes.
always carry eye drops with you?
No, because you see that I have these giant eyes.
Yeah.
They don't get red.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a superpower.
Mm-hmm. I used to be the one that had to go in the store for all my friends to buy the munchies and shit because I was the
Yeah.
only one without red
Didn't
eyes.
look high. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And all right, so yeah, that is a superpower. And all right, so senior year, what was that like working so much and going to school and trying to maintain your grades? Like, did you have to work really hard for your grades, or were you just like gifted when it came to like being able to pass tests and all that?
I didn't
You can
do
retain
it.
information
Yeah.
easily.
Yep. Yeah. School was always very easy for me. Academically, I always did well just naturally, which
Yeah.
was, it turned out to be detrimental in the future. Like as I progressed in schools, like I had to work really hard to learn how to be a student because each time I stepped up a level in school, I was like underwater.
Yeah, because a lot of like those AP classes, they try to inundate you with work so to prepare you for college so that you know how to work hard for your grades. And then if you're not having to work hard, you just think this is all going to be easy for me.
Right.
Yeah, that makes
Yep.
sense. But your using was escalating throughout senior year, right?
Yeah. My using was escalating, I would say, the whole time in college. It was just kind of like,
Oh no, I meant senior
well,
year of high school.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's the whole time though. I mean, essentially it kind of just progressed from like sometimes I would smoke weed and occasionally, something else was available to like regularly smoking weed. And then if somebody had some shit like fucking acid or something, I would do that. And then like pills and opium and whatever else was around. So yeah, it was steadily progressing.
yeah. So as an addict who doesn't know how to stop, how many hits of acid would you take in like a trip?
I couldn't tell you because I don't know when I stopped.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking because like people that never taken acid before don't understand what that will do and how long your trips can last because I've had trips last 18, 24, 36 hours because I'm an addict and I don't know how to stop.
Right. Well, and I think like a good chunk of it would be things like we were at like 2 day, 3 day festivals,
Yeah,
right? So yeah, you're just like throwing gel tabs and mescaline and acid and whatever else you've got in
yeah,
your fucking gullet and just praying for the best.
yeah. Yeah. And when you went to college, were you still going to those like festivals?
Um, so not, I still had the same boyfriend. So yes, we would still go to like fish shows or further fest, but we weren't doing like the 2 and 3 day long ones. Um, and then um, my first semester in college, because I was at Penn State, like so at that the minute I turned 18, my stepfather like took off the reins, like you're no longer our responsibility. Do whatever you want. You're 18. And I was like, I don't even know what to do with this freedom. Like I was absolutely lost. So yeah, so now I'm at Penn State. I'm living on I went to main campus right right out of the gate. So I'm living at State College and doing like the college, like everybody's partying all the time. And like, so I was like, great, free for all. So I progressed more into drinking
Yeah.
a lot because I initially would go to like the frat parties and those kinds of things. And obviously, as I progressed in college, that was not my thing anymore. But I started with a lot of drinking. And then I met a friend who had also kind of done like the hippie circuit. And she and I were like, oh, let's get some kind bud, let's split a bag. And so we started just buying a ton of weed and sharing that. So that would fill in the day and then drinking would fill in the night. And I was absolutely drowning in academics. I
I
had
was gonna
no,
say all while being pre-med at Penn State.
yep. And just tanking, like no idea how to study, no idea how to like,
Yeah.
I'm in class and like, I'm not absorbing and crying on the phone to my mother. Like I'm too stupid to be in college. Like I don't belong here. And, all that, like just imposter, like something's wrong with me. And at some point, probably, and again, from this point until I get clean, there is a lot of haziness and jumbled stuff. I think at some point somebody did give me some Adderall or some cocaine or some kind of stimulant. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
now I know how to study.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I started doing very well. in school without putting a whole lot of effort in.
Mm.
I was like that limitless guy, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like, okay, I know how to do this now. I just suddenly know microbiology.
Yep.
So yeah, that again put me in that same weird position of like that dichotomy. Like here I am fucking getting wasted constantly with my friends, but yet now I'm doing well academically in school. And just like loving that diversity within me.
Yeah. And so that was like while you were still young in college, and like,
Yes. And during that time, somewhere in probably my second or third year, probably my second year, I'm going to say, somebody gave me some pills. And then it just became like, and everybody was like, well, that's Nikki. She's going to be a doctor. So, she can do like whatever. And so like people would have pills and just be like, you want to take these? And I'd look at them and pretend like I knew, like, oh yeah, no, I'll do those. That's fine. No idea what I was fucking. I'd take anything. I'd take anything you gave me. And so there were. That was when OxyContin was really big.
yep.
And they made the Oxy 160s at that
Yes,
time.
they did. Yep.
And yep.
Not for long. They didn't make those for long though.
No, but for as long as they did.
Yeah. But that's kind of the problem is you're doing the 160s and then all of a sudden you're like, well, now I got to do heroin.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And
You
that's
go guess.
the progression.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, well, how much were the 160s at the time? How much were you spending a pill? 80?
Probably. I was dating somebody at the time that we were using them. So, and he knew a guy who got the prescription. And so,
you were paying bottom dollar then. Like, you were like the first before they were like, all right, I'm going to sell it to this person, to that person. Yes. And then.
Yes, we were getting it right from almost right from the source.
The source.
Not the doctor, but.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you were getting in, and which is unfortunate because then you build such a tolerance to it that it's not about the money, it's about the sickness.
Yes, correct.
Because is that what happened? Was they took away the 160s and then you were like, what am I going to do now?
No, those 160s were still around, but I think maybe at this point I might have been in medical school too. I might have advanced to medical school, but we couldn't get it. I think we stopped being friends with him. Maybe there was like a falling out or something, and we didn't know anybody else who had them. So we were having to buy like the 80s or like if you could just get Vicodin or whatever the fuck you could get.
Which don't touch withdrawal.
No, or if it did, it was just like barely keeping you above water, but you're spending tons of money to just stay maintained. So we had a friend who was using heroin, and he was like, "You guys should try this. It's so much cheaper, so much easier." So we did, and like, oh, okay, yeah, we only need a touch of this.
Yeah. Then there's no going back.
No.
Were you taking the 160s by mouth, or were you snorting them?
Snorting, wash off the coating, crush them, snort them. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we used to scrape it off, and and everybody had their own system. I feel like of getting the coating off. Mm-hmm. So you were already used to putting something up your nose when you were introduced to heroin.
Yep.
How long did you progress? Because you said track marks in the beginning. How long did you progress with snorting? Like before, you just shook your head. So it was not long.
No. By the time we got up to like a bundle a day, snorting, we were like, we got to cut down. We got to find a way to make this cheaper. So it was like, well, if we could get a hold of some needles and do that, it will probably be cheaper. So that's what we did. I was rotating. So I was in medical school. I was like, had access to hospitals, like every once in a while you were, as a student, went to clinics or hospitals or whatever. And so I was able to get needles.
And
that was how we started.
And did you had already learned since you were in med school how to inject, or did somebody teach you?
So somebody, another junkie showed
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
okay. Exactly. Nobody really ever goes in blind. It's really rare that you go in blind with, injecting your first time. You don't want to waste it.
right.
You don't want to waste it. And then once you put that needle on your arm your first time, you probably never snorted anything again.
No, no,
Nice.
there'd be
Yeah,
no.
when they're yeah. How long, because you were in med school, how were your grades in med school then? If you were, you're shooting up, because like you said earlier about drinking, once you started, you couldn't stop. So I would imagine you were probably shooting up often during the day. How was school going, retaining information and studying and passing tests while injecting heroin all day?
So I want to say that somewhere in the first year of, like, maybe the first year of medical school, so before I started injecting, when I was still snorting, I started medical school and I was again struggling because there's no amount of warning you as to how much fucking work medical school is. Like, it is, you could take all 4 years of college and combine it in a week, and that's medical school. Like, it's inundating with
Yeah,
information. And again, I am grossly unprepared.
yeah,
So I'm pretty sure that I switched for that first year to, I did terrible my first semester. I mean, terrible. Like, they were like, you might not be able to continue. So I think I switched to stimulants for a bit. Cocaine, crack, cocaine and crack were pretty available in Erie. I was in Erie. And I just went back to pills, but I wasn't snorting them. I would actually take them by mouth just to sort of maintain, but it was the stimulants that I was really using because I had to like focus on school and
yeah,
drink, of course, because medical students drink. So
yeah.
every week you have a big test, so everybody goes out and drinks. So I go out and drink with them, and then after party, there's like three of us, like
Mhm.
doing lines. So that carried me through that first year. And then again, something clicked, and I was like, I get this now. And so the absorption and studying became a lot easier for me. And I transitioned back to the downers. So the opiates, I was doing more of the opiates. And so then heroin came back on the scene. And then from there, it was like I never went back.
Yeah, anything else? Were you still drinking?
Yeah.
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 You keep up appearance because you're a chameleon.
Correct.
Yeah. And you wanted to look like you were part of. And were you still with the same guy?
No, let's see, there was the one guy in college, the beginning of college. Then there was, I think I dated a girl for a couple of years in college. She was young. She was much younger than me, which was really terrible choices, but I was on drugs. She had a lot of mental illness and addiction problems. So that was what was happening in the middle to end of college and the very beginning of medical school. I was just very focused on, she's the fucked up one. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in medical school. I don't have a problem. There's no problem. They just tell you that drugs and alcohol are problematic because weaker minded people can't handle it. But people like myself clearly can function in life with these substances. So I don't see what the big deal is, but
Mm.
she can't function. She's a mess. So then that ended. And then I started dating the guy that ended it all with me. Like, we just went balls to the wall together.
And
So
that was out in Erie.
I was living in Erie. He was actually in Jersey. So
Oh,
we
okay.
like travel back and forth to each other, which was also
I was gonna say,
ridiculous.
that's a long ride, both withdrawing or high.
Both, right?
Yeah.
Both. Yes. It was, yeah. And we did that trip so many fucking times. Like, stupid. So
Yeah.
stupid.
That's what, a 5, 6 no, that's like probably a 7, 8 hour drive, right?
Well, it was like a solid 5.5 from
Five and
like
a half.
Great Shot. Yeah. Cause
Yeah.
he was sort of West Jersey, like
Oh, okay. I was
West.
thinking New York City.
Yeah.
I
No,
was
he was
thinking,
closer
okay.
to the PA border.
Okay. All right. That makes a difference then. And when you graduated med school though,
I did.
which is again giving you your ego like this buildup of like, look what I can do on drugs.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I made it through my third year and then I couldn't do it anymore. I was a disaster. I mean, like, just I couldn't I couldn't show up on time. I was hygienically questionable. I wasn't focused or paying attention. The thing is, I had passed all of the levels of the boards up until that point. So I was maintaining academically like the standards, but I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what was going on. And it was in my third year, end of my third year of medical school, that I said, I can't do this anymore. There really was probably like a spiritual moment that I talk about a lot, that like I was with the boyfriend, we were in the car and I was just like, we were sick and we were trying to figure out where to get money to get more. And I was like, I got to get up in the morning and go to the doctor's office to work. And it was like, you know what? Fuck medical school. I'm just going to be a junkie for the rest of my life. And like, I actually like said those words and felt okay with that decision. And it was like, at the time I had absolutely no spiritual like growth or knowledge. And I was like, I grew up Catholic, Italian Catholic. So, I was like, there's no God. We are absolutely, atheist. So, at that moment though, for real, God like shined a spotlight on me and was like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? Like, who the fuck are you? After all the work you've done, after everything you've done, like after all of this planning and whatever, you're just going to walk away from it all to be a fucking junkie and you're okay with that. Like that. I was like, oh, I don't know. So then it was the next day that I went into that psychologist's office and was like, I don't know what to do. So
you brought up a good point when you said you were out of money. Like, how were you affording all these like drugs all at the time? Like, because like you're what?
The ways that we do, like whatever, violating my core value systems for the sake of one more, right? Like my boyfriend at the time would never let me like sell myself or anything. So I had to do it so he didn't know, because like how else are we going to get money, dude? You ain't fucking working. So
yeah, I was gonna say, so you had to like tell him you got money from somewhere else, but really it came from that.
Spanging or whatever, we would still begging for change.
Oh, okay.
Spare change. Anyone going to truck stops, spare change.
Yeah, truck stops is where you find spare change.
Yeah.
It's where you find something, that's for sure. What is that called? Lizard
Lot lizards? Lot lizards.
Yeah. See, I've had a couple on my show, so I have heard the expression before. Mm-hmm. But he had no idea though.
He would have been really fucking mad. He was like he had some weird set of like standards and morals. Like he would get real mad if I would like smoke crack. Like, dude, we're shooting fucking heroin. Like, why is this the standard?
Yeah.
Right. But like crack's dirty drug. You're a fucking idiot. So, it's a crazy life. It is a crazy life.
I was gonna say, if you're with him who doesn't like crack, were you just with a friend who was like, hey, try this?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we would be hanging out with people like that were abusing, and they had all different kinds of things.
Yeah.
So like, yo, come out in the garage. Okay. Smoke some crack.
Were you still smoking cigarettes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because like cigarettes come with us the entire way through.
Oh, yeah. Always find a way to buy your cigarettes.
Yeah. You always find a way to get your cigarettes. What were you smoking if you grew up with Reds and Cools? What were you smoking? Marlboro Menthols?
Marlboro Lights.
Marlboro Lights. Okay. I quit for a while recently, and then I had a cancer scare. And what do you do when you have a cancer scare? Is you start smoking again. And I haven't been able to quit since. And I was supposed to quit on my 1 year last Friday, and they're right next to me. I did not make it. Did not make
I
it.
quit 12 years ago. So,
Cold turkey or with a patch?
oh no, I had to use the gum and the lozenges and the e-cigarettes, and it took me a year.
Yeah.
It took me a year.
I quit January 1st of last year, and I wore a patch for 11 days. And after that, I was like, I don't need the patch anymore. I'm done. And I went 8.5 months, and I was on my way to Danville Urology to talk to a urologist about like whatever's going on in my bladder at the time. Like this is just this past September. And I was on my way there. You've been to probably Danville Geisinger, right? Yeah. So on the way there, there's Woodbine on the corner and then the Sheets across the street. And I was like, fuck it. And I pulled in the Sheets and bought cigarettes. And like, I haven't been able to put them down since. Luckily, it wasn't cancer. It was a really rare infection in my bladder, but they thought it was because I lost 60 pounds in 6 weeks without trying.
Yeah.
Like, like scary shit. But either way, yeah, I haven't been able to put them down since. And, I'm going to try again. I still have the patches. I'm looking right at them. They're in my office. I still have a ton of them because I never used all of them last year. And they expire February of 2027. So they're not going anywhere. All right. So back to you, because like I said, I bounce around. So did you tell your boyfriend like, hey, I'm going to like stop? No, because it was a spur of the moment decision you made in the doctor's office, right?
Yeah, so like we had talked about it kind of like the day before or the week before, like, hey, we need to create a plan where we can like cut down so that we don't get sick. And like, we're going to use this much today and this much tomorrow, like a fucking pie chart, like
The
this is how we're going to do it. Yeah, the taper plan, which literally lasted about an hour,
Yeah, it
and
does.
we
It never
already, we were already into the next 2 days worth of stats.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I went into and just like turned myself in, and then started the ball rolling, like, trust me, I was like immediately regretting the decision, but it was too late. And he was pretty mad at me because I had brought somebody else into our world, and now something was going to have to be done.
I was going to say, so walk me through that. Like you're at work, like, and you talk to the psychiatrist and they get you set up with a rehab. Did you go right into the rehab or did you go into a detox? Did you come home first? They like pack your clothes, like kind of how did that work out?
So we were living in a hotel because we were rotating at a site like far from where I lived. So they provide you with housing. So we were in a hotel room, and when you have a medical license at stake, there are advocacy boards that will help you get to treatment before that has to be reported to the board so that you don't risk losing your license. So this psychologist just happened to know that, and she put me in touch with because it was in New Jersey at the time, the New Jersey Physicians Monitoring Board. So I went back to the hotel and I had to wait for a phone call, and she and the doctor at the time that I was working for called me, and they were like, we're really proud of you for doing this, and it's hard, and we're going to get you the help. And so the monitoring board called me also, and they said, we're going to get you into detox. And then it was a whirlwind. So I guess I lied in the beginning. That was not February. That would have been like late December or January when that was happening, because I went to detox, and I went to detox very, very delusionally convinced that I was done using. I just needed to physically get the drugs out of my system, that I was only using to stop withdrawal, that it was purely a physical dependence, no love for the drug. Like I deluded myself to believe that. So I convinced them, just let me go through detox. That's all I need. Just detox me and I'll be good. So I went through detox. So I had to tell my medical school, though, something because I wasn't showing up for the rotation anymore. So I had to contact my medical school, and I thought it would be better to have a mental illness than a drug problem. So I told them that I was suicidal and that I was going into the mental hospital. So I went to this detox and detoxed for 7 days there. Just a fucking fog of memories. I was a mess. I know that I was a mess and that I had to sleep for like 3 straight days because all the meds dropped my blood pressure super low and like I couldn't function and whatever. But anyway, by the 7th day, I felt okay. I was awake, alert, not sick. Drugs are out of my system. Okay, I'm done. I'm through this. So the boyfriend comes and picks me up, and we made it 2 miles down the road before I was like, what do you got? And that was it. Started using again. And so
he told you what he had.
Of course, he tried the whole, really, you just got out. Do you really?
Okay. I'm just making sure he tried to play that card.
He did. He pretended. Yeah, he pretended. So then but I was still like on the hook, like to be monitored by these people and blah, blah, blah. So they wanted me to do intensive outpatient. So I went and did my assessment at a place, and I don't know, in my mind, I did a pretty convincing job of convincing the guy, the counselor there, that I wasn't using and that I was doing okay. And then after detox, but I don't know, maybe I didn't but essentially what happened was I had to report to the school that I was out of the hospital and that I was ready to go back to my rotations. And they wanted a letter from my psychiatrist. So I had to go back to the school and sit down with the dean and tell her, like, I lied. I'm not, it was a drug problem. I was in rehab, or I was in detox, blah, blah, blah. And she said, essentially she said, and I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of complaints about this woman and the way she runs the school and blah, blah, blah. But I will give credit where it's due. Like, she was like, you're the first student we've had with this problem, or that we know of. And because you've been honest with us about it, and you didn't get caught and you didn't hurt anybody, if you contract with the monitoring agency here in Pennsylvania, we will let you continue medical school, but you have to start your 3rd year over again. She couldn't make me start the whole thing over again, which is what she wanted, because I had passed the boards. So she couldn't make me take them again.
Yeah.
So I had to start the 3rd year over, but I had to stay in Pennsylvania. I had to stay near Erie. I had to meet with the school psychologist like monthly. And then I had to do whatever the Pennsylvania monitoring board said. And they don't dick around. So they were like, yeah, girlfriend, you need to go to residential and you need to go to one of these 5 facilities in the country that treat doctors. So I wound up going to Marworth in Waverly, Pennsylvania, run by Geisinger. And that I spent 72 days inpatient. And so on February 10th, I was sitting in the parking lot of Marworth shooting my last 2 grams of dope.
How did you get 2 grams?
However, he was with me. My boyfriend was with me. So
okay.
I have no idea how he got it, but.
Okay. That's why I thought you meant by yourself. Okay. So you went and then you started your 72 days on February 11th?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes more sense to me,
Yes. For me, the process started when I turned myself into the psychologist.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The actual clean date was 2/11. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the most important thing. Do you work any kind of program today?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Is it the same as me?
The 12-step program?
I also say clean. I don't say sober.
Yeah. So through the 20-year span, I have gone back and forth between the 2 different, actually, I've done more than just 2 12-step programs. I did Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. I've done Food Addicts Anonymous. I've done them all. I'm
in GA also. I started in AA and then eventually switched to NA. And because it went with, I've been in recovery 7.5 years. And I've had 3 relapses in that time. And each time I came back, I did different things, and it
Because they're
just,
all the same to the brain.
and I needed changes because, like, for example, I did AA for the first time, and then it lasted 13 months, and I wasn't convinced I was an alcoholic, and I started drinking again. And I drank for 9 months, not alcoholically. I'll be honest. It was not like, and the whole time I'm like, look at this. I'm not drinking alcoholically, just like they said I would.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards, like February, 9 months later, then I started picking it up, like grabbing a whole bottle of Jack and it'd be gone the next day, and 2 liter of Coke and it's gone along with the bottle of Jack. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and I woke up on Leap Day, February 29th, and I said to my wife, like, hey, my wife's an alcoholic, and they were drinking with me the whole time. And I woke up on Leap Day, and I said, I can't do it anymore. Like, either I need a drink right now, or I can never have a drink again. And it was Leap Day of 2020. And my wife said, well, I'll quit with you. Like, my wife's dad's in AA 35 years. So, like, so I said it would be a cool sober date, Leap Day. We can only celebrate once every 4 years. And haven't had a drink since, and then COVID happened 2 weeks later. So we weren't going to meetings, and it was just like kind of white knuckling it together. And yeah, I did really good for a while. Then my dad died, and then boom, here come the antidepressants, like doing, and I haven't bought street drugs in a long time, because when my dad passed, I went to my psychiatrist because I'm bipolar, and I said, hey, I need something for my dad passing away. Of course, he gave me Ativan, no problem. And then I abused that for a while, and then I was like, hey, this isn't working anymore. So he gives me Valium, and then I learned that I can snort Valium, so I started snorting Valium, and then I quit. And on April 1st of 2024, and I even quit smoking weed for the first time. So I quit smoking weed, and I still haven't smoked weed to this day. And I did really good for a while. And then last November, middle of November, towards the end, I said to my psychiatrist, my wife wanted me to quit smoking cigarettes, so I quit. And it was like 8 days in. And I said to my psychiatrist, I need something for the anxiety. And he said, I'll put you back on Ativan. I said, nope, not strong enough. And he said, Valium. And I said, nope, I'll abuse it. Like, this is all back and forth in my chart. This isn't like in like a sit down, setting. This is in my chart back and forth. I said, nope, not strong enough. And he goes, okay, I'll give you Xanax, 1 milligram, 90 of them. I said, okay, that works. And then, by the way, he's not my psychiatrist anymore after what happened here. He gave me 90 of them, and I went through them in 4 days. And 4 or 5 days later, I messaged them back. Hey, I told you that wasn't going to be strong enough because they're gone already. I need something stronger. As a doctor, what would you have said to me, and knowing my history of drug abuse? Probably, I'm not giving you anything.
I wouldn't have offered Ativan in the first place.
Yeah, well, he goes
Benzos to anybody.
Well, he goes, well, here's 92 milligrams then. Yeah, and then I overdosed, because I took 20 of them in 12 hours. And luckily, I'm a big guy, and I could handle that much. And I didn't die. And then I decided to quit. And that was December 4th of last year was my last time using. And, it was a 9-day relapse, but it ended with an overdose and then a 3-day hospital stay because they put me on, what is that called? A barbital taper or
barbital. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you know barbital, they put me on that taper, and then I went to the psych ward for a 72-hour hold down in Philly, which is a long car ride in a constable's car. Mm-hmm. But then I got to the psych ward, and that was almost a year. Tomorrow will be a year since I got home from the psych ward. So, yeah, and I do NA every single day, and now I host meetings, and I host speaker meetings. I could love to have you on as a speaker meeting one night. If you're ever free on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time, I would love to have you on as a speaker. I'll email you about that. But you know, I host speaker meetings, I host Saturday night meetings, and I co-host on Fridays and Wednesdays and Mondays. So I keep busy with that. And I go at noon sometimes too, all on Zoom, because living where I live, AA is everywhere, but NA is nowhere. So I got clean on the screen, as they say. But I switched to NA. The whole point of this is because I went when I had my relapse with with Valium last April, and I went back into AA because that's all I knew was go to AA. I was getting in trouble by the old heads, by the old timers, because I was talking about, you know, anything but alcohol, because I haven't had a sip of alcohol at that point in 4 years. Alcohol is far from my problem right now. I need to talk about other stuff. And of course, an old timer pulled me aside a month in. Congrats on your 30 days. I just got a 30-day chip, but you really got to start talking about alcohol and not, and drugs. So I said, fuck that. And I found NA on Zoom, and I haven't gone back to AA since. So, I needed a place where I can talk about everything, because at least in NA, alcohol is a drug, period. And, at least they are inclusive enough to talk about everything. But I want to get back to your recovery. When you did 72 days and then you get home, was your boyfriend still there?
No. So I had to go back to Erie, and he was in New Jersey.
Okay.
And obviously at this point, our families kind of knew, and they were
Yeah.
hovering and being very, concerned. And so, no, I wanted him to come out to be with me, but he had a family, like kids, and so.
So he had kids the whole time?
Oh yeah. 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 He was separated from his wife, but he had kids, and there was so much drama around that. I mean, it was just insanity. Like the insanity of just that relationship was pretty much like parallel to the insanity of addiction. Like everything about my life during that time was really just chaos. So, but I had to be in Erie. I had to go do my rotations in Erie, and I had to meet with all of the counselors and psychologists and everybody in Erie. And I had to go to meetings. It was required by the monitoring agency. So they monitor, they do random urines, and they have like another doctor that meets with you every quarter and checks boxes to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's a 5-year monitoring contract. So for that first year, I was very compliant. I did everything I was supposed to do. But I was not working. I was going to AA meetings, but I wasn't I was doing what I always did, which was chameleon. I'm going to be the mayor of AA. So I would read the book and I would regurgitate things, and I would go to one meeting and hear something profound and then spit it back out at another meeting. It was my thought, and I had all these people convinced oh my God, she's doing so great. You're so good. And I was miserable, and I had this chip on my shoulder, and I was just not. I didn't know what the problem was, because I had gotten a really good experience in rehab. I had gotten really good, counseling. We started to dig into my trauma. We started to work through some of that stuff. And then of course I had to leave. And so that stopped until I found another really good therapist outpatient. But in the meantime, I was just kind of miserable. And so I would do things I'd go to the bar at 1:30 in the morning, because they close at 2. And that was the best time to find somebody to just hook up with for the night, so I was using sex as my drug. That's how I was escaping this self hatred and chaos. And so, and that didn't feel right, because obviously I'm at bars, and there's a high risk I'm going to drink, and I'm going to AA and saying all these things about how sober I am, and I was still smoking cigarettes, but that was it. I've never touched another drug or drink since February 11th. So, but I smoked cigarettes until 2013. So so I was doing that. And then, but I was enough, eventually the fucking pressure builds, and you just can't maintain that sort of bullshit lifestyle. So I was at a meeting, and there was a woman there sharing, and she was a nurse, and she was just telling some story about herself. And it was it was such a stupid story, nothing exciting, but it was so honest. It was so authentic. And it was so just her self-awareness blew me away. And I was man, that must feel so fucking good. like to just go and like live life and not to be constantly like the fucking guy from, you know, like moving shit around like a magician. So I asked her if she would be my sponsor, and that was probably the beginning of my real recovery. So, you know, I
You
went
didn't have a sponsor before then.
I did, but it was like on name only. Like I asked, I did what I did all the compliant things. I raised my hand. I need a sponsor. This woman was like, I'm sponsoring. I'm like, okay, you can be my sponsor. But like I had nothing in common with her. There was no relatability. Like I just called her because she said to call her. So, so I got a real sponsor, and she, so I did AA with her. And she took me through the steps, and that's where I had that psychic change, that psychic spiritual change. And it prompted me to want to do more. And it kind of pushed me towards like, I think I'm going to do addiction medicine. And the treatment center where I went to treatment actually had an addiction medicine fellowship happening. So the two doctors there that treated me were now training fellows to do addiction medicine. So I applied and I got in there. So by the time I was 5 years clean, I was working at the treatment center where I had gotten treatment and getting my certification in addiction medicine. So that was cool.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I was just going to ask, what kind of doctor, what kind of like medicine do you practice?
So I'm board certified in family medicine, but I did my fellowship in addiction medicine. So I'm just all addiction medicine. I run 4 different treatment facilities.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
In Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm the director in name of a methadone clinic in Pennsylvania, but I run 4 actual treatment centers in Ohio.
Okay. Yeah. Like treatment centers as in rehabs.
Yeah. Rehab, inpatient, outpatient, domestic.
Do they detox inside? Do they detox in house too?
So none of the ones I currently work at do. When I first moved to Ohio, I was detoxing at a hospital. That was my job. That's why I moved to Ohio. To detox people at the very first hospital that ever treated alcoholics, where Dr. Bob and Sister Ignatia treated the first alcoholics. That was the detox unit that I worked on. I ran that unit for 7 years.
Did you go there on purpose, knowing what you knew? Did you? Okay.
Yep. I was interviewing for jobs all over the country, and I actually went to the Akron interview just thinking it was going to be like free dinner. I'm not moving to fucking Ohio. And it turned out to be like, what better place to start your addiction medicine career than at the hospital that literally treated the first alcoholics. So there was a lot of history there. But did
you check out AA while you were in town for your interview?
Yes. Yes. And so I did AA for the first probably 2 years, and no longer. Then I moved up to Buffalo to do my residency in family medicine. So I was there for 3 years, and I did AA there. But when I went back to do my fellowship out in Tunkhannock, believe it or not, I found NA to be better. I would do some AA because Tunkhannock has 1 meeting a day, and it's either or. So I did both, but I found NA to be more. And the thing is, my philosophy all of life has been conform and infiltrate. The only way to make changes in these big dinosaurs that have existed for all times is to get in, abide by their rules, be compliant, and then start pushing from the inside out. Yeah. And so I would go to AA meetings, and I would share that I'm an alcoholic, and I would say substance. That's all I'd say. The substance took over my life. The substance, this, and at the end I would say, so if anybody here can relate, congratulations, you just related to a drug addict. And so the old timers had to shut their pie holes because they're the whole time nodding their heads, agreeing with me, So, but I always found NA to be more emotionally stimulating, especially if you do like Cleveland or like Philly.
I do Providence. So Providence, Rhode Island is my home group at noon. And remember I told you I went from AA to NA for Zoom. And my first meeting on Zoom was NA in the day, Providence, Rhode Island at noon. And the speaker came on. They read Just for Today, and then the speaker goes for 15 minutes about Just for Today. And the speaker, and she's still in the room, and I still thank her all the time for this share, had one of the most raw shares that I've heard in years. And I was like, I'm home. This is where I need to be. I need shares like this. I need to hear stories like that. Like, this is where I need to be. And, you know, I've gone to that meeting. Yeah, I was going to that meeting high, even when I relapsed for those 9 days. And the first thing I did when I got home from the psych ward was go into that meeting and apologize for coming high. You know, so, and I just spoke on my 1 year there on Friday, and, you know, talked all about what happened and, you know, what I'm doing now. And, you know the drill by now. So I know what you mean by how, like, it's definitely stimulating differently with NA. And that's kind of what I like about it. What is a lot of what I like about it. And I can relate more to people. I am an alcoholic. I have no problem admitting that now, but I am 100% an addict, you know.
Well, and so again, as a specialist in addiction medicine, like my specialty is the neurobiology of addiction, it's the way the brain works in addiction. And I have spent the bulk of my career at this point, 15 years I've been practicing, trying to explain to people that there's no difference, that like the part of your brain that's broken is broken, and it can't tell the difference between heroin and alcohol or marijuana, THC or Xanax. They're all the same to that part of the brain. So when you keep throwing shit at it, it stays broken. And it can't properly heal. And so, you wind up relapsing at some point on something because you're keeping the legs in the door.
I always say my drug of choice is the word more.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. Sure. You know, because it doesn't matter what the substance is.
It doesn't.
Once it hits me in a certain way that I need it to, then I'm chasing that feeling, like gambling. You know, like there's a reason I ended up in GA. You know, once it hits me, that triggers what I needed to trigger, that, you know, validation, you know, that relief, that, you know, whatever I'm searching for in that moment or that day or that second, you know, it's a wrap.
We're always searching for the change in our feelings, right? If we don't like the way we're feeling, we want to change it. But anytime you're using anything, you're keeping that highway open. You're just keeping a car on that road. And so there's no reason for your brain to build a new road. So you're just going to jump back on it full force when shit hits the fan. So that's kind of like, that's what I've been doing with all of my social media and stuff, is like trying to educate people that like a drug is a drug and we need to stop, you know, parceling them out. But regardless, yes, I have found now in where I live now in Ohio, NA is here specifically. If I go to Cleveland or Akron, it's like the NA that I know, but NA here is like diet NA, you know, it's like AA-ish. So, but the problem that I'm having now is that my reputation has gotten big, which is not a bad thing, but I see thousands of patients a year. And so now when I go to a meeting, chances are there's 25% of that room at least are patients of mine or were. And I don't care that because there's no secret that I'm in addiction. I wrote a fucking book. I mean, I wrote a book about my story. Like everybody knows. But my fear is that I'm going to be in that room and that patient wants to share something, like they relapse or something, and they're afraid that if I hear it, I'm going to not give them medication, or I'm going to tell their PO or something like that. You know, and so I don't want to hinder other people's recovery. And so I wind up going outside to meetings further away. Sometimes I'll do online meetings. I am an in-person like connection. Like I don't connect with people online as well as I do. It's too easy for me to manipulate online. So I would never feel the overwhelming compulsion to be thoroughly honest with somebody online if I was relapsing. Whereas in person, I have a lot more of an emotional connection with people, and I would struggle more with the guilt of lying or manipulating. So
that makes a lot of sense.
But I'm okay with, like, if that's the only option I have and I feel like I need to sit in a meeting, then I'll go online, because I can't drive fucking 2 hours to a meeting. You know, and I still do go to local ones, just not as often, because again, I'm not trying to impair or hinder anybody else's recovery at this point.
Yeah. And I've never checked out any of your social media. Like I said from the beginning, like I didn't want to like have any preconceived things that I wanted to talk about. But Ashley told me you have a big following, Where did that start from? Like, what got you into doing like addiction on social media?
I so I started my Facebook business account, The Addiction Assassin, in 2019 when I wrote my book, because my
Okay.
thought was like, oh, I'll promote my book on Facebook.
What
I
is the
had
book called?
The Addictaholic Deconstructed.
Okay.
And so I had a friend at the time. She's not my friend so much now, but she was my friend at the time. She had a very big page on Facebook, like 3 million followers or something, like 1.2
Shit.
million. But she was basically like, she was marketing her page as like dealing with trauma, but it was mostly like memes. She was just posting like funny memes or like, thought-provoking memes. So she shared a few of my posts and then told me, just post every day something funny or like some sort of clever meme or whatever. And so that's what I did. So I did that every day for like 2 or 3 years, and I built up a following of like 33,000 people, but who had no interest in addiction. They were just following my funny memes. They thought
Yeah.
whatever. So that kind of stagnated there. So that platform hadn't grown at all in years. And I didn't post on it very often, other than just I had a schedule or posting like these memes. So I forget what it was, like a year and a half ago, somebody mentioned about TikTok and like monetizing on TikTok, and that it might be a good, because I'm always like, how can I get this information out there? But like, it's not for free, but it's for
Yeah.
free, right? So I'm giving people free information that cost me a fortune.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll see if I can build up on TikTok. And so I started posting like every day on TikTok, like just videos talking about the brain, talking about addiction, talking about whatever. And then I just started that probably in April or May of this year. And that took off. So that got me over to the point of monetization. And then for whatever reason, I was just cross posting all of my TikTok videos
Yeah.
onto my Facebook page, and that took off like crazy town. So I've doubled my followers on Facebook in like 2 weeks.
Oh,
So yeah. So yeah, and so I'm just like, okay, well, now I need to expand to YouTube. I have a YouTube channel and I have an Instagram, but neither of them have ever done very well either. So I just like trying to put in the time to build those up, because my thoughts are always like, the people in this area appreciate me, and they they all like, they know who I am. They show my Addiction 101. I did a speech at Walsh University, keynote address. It had to be like 2018, where I did Addiction 101, addiction, neurobiology of the brain. That fucking video, somebody took a video of it and posted it on YouTube, and that they show that shit in rehab centers and IOPs all over the country. Like, people contact me from all over the place. Like, I saw you in rehab, they showed your video. Like, so I was like, okay, so there's a market for this. Like, people want this information. They like this information. They feel empowered by it. So if I could find a way to get it out to more than just Northeast Ohio, but where I have a little bit more say and control in what's actually going out versus somebody took a video of me.
yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of what the idea was. Like, how can I reach as many people? How can I help as many people as I possibly can, without burning out my life?
Well, because I think that's the thing is like, I know I'll speak for myself, is I wanted explanations and answers as to why I became an addict, where this came from. I grew up with my parents together until the day my dad died, never really fought, like never needed for anything, very happy, played sports, got decent grades. And then I became an addict anyway. It wasn't around me. My parents weren't big drinkers, and kind of the same thing as you, but they knew how to throw a party, and there would always be leftover liquor that would just get stored in the basement. And then a curiosity came, and then I had some, and then I was off to the races at 11. Some trauma happened at 12, and then I started drinking every night in my bedroom, bringing a bottle to my room and taking swigs every night. And, it just, 22 years old, drinking was, not fun anymore. It was 2008. and I was introduced to Oxy, and that was it. That's all I needed for another 10 years, before I finally quit in 2018, when it came to opiates. So, I completely get it. What's on your hand? I've been meaning to ask you this whole time. What is that?
Dopamine, serotonin.
I figured it was something that had to do with addiction. Yeah. Yeah. Now, when did you start getting all your tattoos?
18.
18. Okay, so you were getting your tattoos while in addiction then.
Yeah, I would say that I did not get very many during my active addiction because I'm not spending money on that.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. Yeah.
No,
unless you knew somebody that was like in apprenticey and giving a.
I had standards even when I was using for that.
I had one when I got clean, and then now I have like over 50, I guess. I don't know. But
I'm covered. My whole body is pretty much covered. So
yeah, you get it. But that's awesome. I'm so glad you're at where you're at right now and being able to help and reach as many people. What are your numbers at now? 66,000 on Facebook. You said double.
Yeah, I'm at about 66 on Facebook and 12 something on TikTok.
12,000 on TikTok already.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive. Yeah, I'm still at 2,000, and all I do is post clips of my show. But
it's a tough. I mean, it's a grind. You just got to keep going and going, and then all of a sudden it takes off. One video takes off, and you're like, okay. Nothing viral. I don't have anything that's like millions of views, but
yeah.
But on Facebook.
You see, I got really wrapped up in the numbers of this show early on, and I don't get a ton of views. You know what I mean? My show isn't huge by any means. And I got really upset. I started this show in July of 2021. I have 260 episodes out or something like that. And the reason I started it is my wife and I had a meeting center in town. We opened up a nonprofit in Bloomsburg, where we held AA and NA, and my wife does recovery Dharma, and we held mental health meetings and all different kinds of meetings in there, and to raise money because none of us were working still from COVID, and my wife has MS, so like they're on disability from MS, and to raise money for the meeting center, I started a podcast to try to get money in, and it wasn't going that well. Like it wasn't hitting my expectations of what it should have been for how much work I was putting into it. And I find guests like you through like TikTok and Facebook groups and through friends and all that, like interviewed, I think 11 different countries, you know what I mean? Like people from all over the world. And my numbers just weren't there. And I was getting really frustrated and I was ready to just hang it up and just call it quits. And a girl on Instagram messaged me one night in the middle of the night saying that they live in England and they saw like 4 episodes of my show in a row and they're going to go to rehab tomorrow and just want to thank me. And that's all I needed to hear to keep going to this point today. Like if I get that one viewer that it gets some kind of something out of it that's going to change their lives, then that's all I give a shit about from now on. I don't care for any episodes that get me 2 views to 100 views to 1,000 views. If it hits one person in a certain way, that's all I'm going to care about from now on.
Same. I get lots of messages from people saying that, like, I love your content. It's been so helpful to me. I'm 4 days sober now because I've been watching your reels. And like, okay, that's awesome. That's the goal. That's the fucking goal.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
That's all I've been doing it for, is to reach as many people as possible. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for sitting down doing this with me. I really appreciate your time today because I know you are busy having that many treatment centers and everything else going on. And send me is it your book on Amazon? Mm-hmm. I'll put the link of the book into the episode 2 in the description. Okay. So if you're watching, you want to check out her book, the link will be in the description. And do you have like one of those like link trees or whatever?
I do.
Okay, I'll put that in the description too. Just email both of those to me so I have the links to put in the description.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole, for sitting down and taking time with me today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.